historical context of female self-exposure and empowerment. The journey of female empowerment through self-exposure is deeply intertwined with broader feminist movements and the fight for bodily autonomy and self-expression. It's not a single linear narrative, but a series of interconnected shifts in social norms, political activism, and artistic expression. Early forms of subversion and expression, pre-19th century. Underlying disempowerment. For much of history, women's lives were largely confined to the domestic sphere, with limited legal, economic, and social rights. Their bodies were often seen as property or primarily for reproduction, subject to patriarchal control. Subtle resistance. While overt exposure as a form of empowerment was rare and heavily punished, women found subtle ways to resist and express themselves within the confines of their societies. This could include fashion choices that pushed boundaries, e.g., daring necklines in certain historical periods, coded language in literature, or private artistic endeavors. The first wave of feminism, late 19th and early 20th centuries. The new woman and political visibility, challenging restrictive clothing. The suffragette movement, while focused on the right to vote, also saw women challenging restrictive Victorian fashion, corsets, long skirts, as a symbol of physical and social liberation. The advent of simpler, more practical clothing allowed for greater mobility and participation in public life. Public demonstrations. Women publicly marched, protested, and picketed for suffrage, literally exposing themselves to public scrutiny and often ridicule, but doing so to assert their political agency. This public visibility was a form of self-exposure in itself, artistic and literary expression. Female artists and writers began to explore themes of female experience, identity, and societal roles more openly, often exposing the realities of women's lives that were previously unspoken. The second wave of feminism, 1960s, 1980s, bodily autonomy and sexual liberation. The personal is political. This became a central slogan, highlighting how personal experiences, including those related to the body and sexuality, were rooted in systemic, political, and social structures. Reproductive rights. The fight for access to contraception and abortion was a direct assertion of women's bodily autonomy and control over their reproductive lives. This involved exposing the taboos around female sexuality and reproductive health, challenging beauty standards and objectification. Movements like bra burning, though largely symbolic and not widespread literal burning, were about rejecting societal pressures to conform to male-defined beauty standards and reclaiming their bodies from objectification. Feminist art and performance. Artists use their bodies in performance art, photography, and other mediums to directly challenge patriarchal norms, explore female sexuality, and expose violence against women. This included overtly sexual or provocative imagery to reclaim agency over their own representation. The third and fourth waves of feminism, 1990s present. Intersectional self-expression and digital exposure. Diversity of experience. These waves emphasize intersectionality, acknowledging that women's experiences of empowerment and exposure differ based on race, class, sexuality, and other identities. Reclaiming the gaze. Contemporary movements continue to challenge the male gaze in media and art, with women actively creating and controlling their own images and narratives. This often involves embracing diverse body types and challenging traditional notions of beauty. Digital platforms and social media. The internet and social media have provided new avenues for self-exposure, allowing women to share their stories, bodies, and activism on a global scale. This can range from body positivity movements and reclaiming nudity, to sharing personal experiences of harassment or discrimination to raise awareness. Free the nipple and body positivity. Campaigns like Free the Nipple are examples of women directly challenging norms around female bodies and public nudity, aiming for gender equality and bodily exposure. Body positivity movements encourage women to embrace their bodies as they are, rejecting unrealistic beauty standards. Key themes in this history. Reclaiming agency. The core of this history is women taking back control over their own bodies. Images and narratives from patriarchal control. Challenging taboos. It consistently involves breaking down societal taboos around female sexuality, bodies, and emotions. Visibility is power, making the private public and demanding to be seen and heard on their own terms.